Get back!
A significant story has unfolded across Britain, drawing tens of thousands of citizens into the streets in cities from Manchester to Cardiff. At the heart of this unrest is a government housing program, launched in 2023 with a total budget of $2.4 billion designed to provide emergency accommodation for migrants. Initially framed as a humanitarian initiative, the program was intended to ensure that displaced individuals had safe and immediate housing while longer-term solutions were arranged. Yet the program has become the focus of public scrutiny, with widespread concerns over transparency, contract allocation, and the displacement of long-term residents, including veterans and pensioners who have lived in their homes for decades. The Home Office introduced the program as part of a rapid response effort to address growing pressures from increased migration. Government officials emphasized the urgency of providing accommodation for individuals in crisis, framing the initiative as a compassionate response to a humanitarian challenge. The scope of the program was vast. It included partnerships with construction companies, agreements with hotels, and coordination with local authorities to identify suitable housing options. With a $2.4 billion budget, the initiative covered a mix of hotel accommodations and longer-term housing projects, reflecting the scale and ambition of the program. 5 major construction and service firms were awarded contracts under this program. Notably, some of these companies had previously made significant political contributions. For example, West Burbridge Contracts Limited reportedly donated $2.7 million to a political campaign in 2024 and was subsequently awarded $620 million in contracts for hotels and housing projects. While government officials maintain that standard procurement procedures were followed, documents and leaked communications have raised questions about the fairness and transparency of the contracting process. Investigative reports suggest that some of the contracts were drafted with input from the companies receiving them. Leaked procurement documents indicate detailed requirements that appeared tailored to the specific capabilities of certain firms, allowing for significant profit margins. Internal concerns within the Home Office reportedly arose over the handling of these contracts. A former procurement officer, speaking anonymously, stated that objections were raised but largely ignored. 3 senior civil servants allegedly retired early after refusing to approve the contracts, highlighting the internal friction and concern over the decision-making process. Further scrutiny of communications reveals that some meetings between company executives and government officials occurred outside formal office settings. Encrypted messaging apps and temporary phones were reportedly used, raising additional questions about accountability and transparency. While government representatives maintain that all legal and procedural requirements were observed, the combination of large financial stakes, political contributions, and unusual communication channels has intensified public and media attention. One of the most contentious aspects of the program has been its impact on social housing. Reports indicate that over 15,000 social homes were repurposed to accommodate migrants. Many of these homes had previously been occupied by veterans, pensioners, and other long-term residents. Among those affected was Thomas Reed, a 67-year-old Falklands War veteran who lost his left leg in service to the country. Mr. Reed reportedly received a reallocation notice without consultation or an appeal process, leaving him temporarily without stable housing. Similarly, Margaret Collins, a 73-year-old widow who had lived in her Camden flat for 22 years, and David Patterson, a Gulf War veteran, were displaced from their homes under the program. Meanwhile, approximately 32,000 asylum seekers are currently housed in 42 hotels across southern England. Reports suggest that some hotels charge the government up to $150 per person per night, significantly higher than standard accommodation costs. This contrast between the luxurious accommodations for migrants and the displacement of long-term residents has become a focal point for public concern and media coverage. Citizens have expressed frustration over what they perceive as a lack of fairness and accountability, emphasizing the human cost of rapid policy implementation. The public response has been substantial. Demonstrations have occurred in major cities including Manchester, Birmingham, Leeds, Bristol, London, Newcastle, Glasgow, and Cardiff. Protesters have voiced concern about the displacement of veterans and pensioners, highlighting the contrast between the treatment of new arrivals and long-standing residents. These protests have been largely peaceful, but the large scale and visibility have made them a national news story. Law enforcement authorities reported over 480 arrests in the early days of demonstrations, while security measures were heightened at government locations, including Downing Street. In Parliament, the unfolding events prompted an emergency session. Members of Parliament raised questions regarding the allocation of contracts, the influence of political donations, and the oversight of the housing program. A vote of no confidence in the Prime Minister narrowly failed, with only a small margin between supporters and opposition. Nonetheless, several cabinet members, including the Home Secretary and Housing Minister, resigned in the aftermath. The political turbulence also affected financial markets, with the British pound declining by 4% in overnight trading, reflecting investor concern over political stability. The program's human impact has prompted widespread community action. Citizens have organized vigils, fundraisers, and outreach initiatives to support displaced veterans and pensioners. Nonprofit organizations, veterans associations, and local communities have mobilized to provide temporary housing, financial assistance, and social support. These efforts highlight the power of civic engagement in addressing the immediate consequences of policy decisions and underscore the importance of community solidarity during times of crisis. Investigations into the contracts, procurement processes, and communications associated with the program are ongoing. Authorities are reviewing internal procedures and financial records, and additional whistleblowers have reportedly come forward to provide information about decision-making within the Home Office. Independent review panels are also examining the transparency and legality of contract awards, as well as the displacement of social housing tenants. These inquiries are expected to continue for several months, with updates anticipated as authorities gather and analyze evidence. The controversy surrounding the housing program highlights broader questions about transparency, accountability, and governance. Rapid responses to humanitarian challenges are often necessary, yet the scale and complexity of public initiatives require careful oversight and planning. The displacement of vulnerable residents, combined with questions over contract allocation and political contributions, has amplified public scrutiny and created a sense of urgency among lawmakers, media, and citizens alike. Public sentiment reflects a combination of concern and determination. Protesters, community organizers, and citizens alike have emphasized the need for accountability, equitable treatment of long-term residents, and proper oversight of public funds. Demonstrations and community initiatives demonstrate that civic engagement remains a critical mechanism for ensuring transparency and fairness in government programs. Citizens have shown resilience and creativity, organizing fundraisers, vigils, and awareness campaigns to draw attention to the human consequences of housing policy decisions. The situation also raises important economic considerations. The program's high costs, combined with its rapid implementation and public backlash, have prompted discussions about fiscal responsibility, resource allocation, and long-term planning in government initiatives. Analysts note that public trust in institutions can be affected by both perceived and real discrepancies between policy goals and outcomes, particularly when vulnerable populations are involved. As investigations and parliamentary inquiries proceed, the controversy surrounding the housing program serves as a cautionary tale for future initiatives. Large-scale public programs must balance speed and efficiency with transparency, fairness, and accountability, ensuring that all stakeholders are considered, from migrants requiring urgent support to long-term residents and taxpayers, is essential to maintaining public trust and avoiding social unrest. The events in Britain also illustrate the importance of civic engagement. The public's response, through protests, community support, and independent reporting, has brought attention to both the successes and shortcomings of the housing program. Civic participation ensures that governments remain accountable, highlighting the human consequences of policy decisions while promoting oversight and transparency. Looking ahead, authorities are expected to continue reviewing contracts, internal communications, and procedures to address concerns about procurement, transparency, and public accountability. Additional whistleblowers and independent reviewers are likely to contribute new information, shedding light on the full scope of the program's implementation and impact. As the situation develops, both the public and policymakers will be closely monitoring outcomes, seeking lessons to guide future humanitarian and social initiatives. Ultimately, The controversy emphasizes the delicate balance required in government decision-making. Policies must address